Hey everybody, this is Steve, and we're going to talk today about muscle testing. Now, a couple quick things. I'm going to take this video. I'm going to post it a lot of different places, but primarily it is for our school group. That's SKOOL. It's a online kind of community teaching platform, and we have a school group called Extraordinary Courage Tribe, and it's a free group. Where we have a lot of content there, all kind of a little more organized, where we can interact. People can ask questions and all that. All the content there is free. I may in the future add some additional stuff that's at charge, but you'll find a lot of content there, and you can find this group at extraordinarycourage.com or ectribe.com. So come join us. We'll have a lot of content there for you. So today we're going to talk a bit about muscle testing. And I want to kind of give a broad overview of what it is, what it can be used for, maybe some simple techniques on how to get started. And it is a subject that you can go very, very deep on. But we want to start with the simple stuff. So what are we talking about here? A lot of different names. So muscle testing or muscle response testing just means that your physical body can be slightly stronger and slightly more coordinated uh, in the presence of truth or something that's good for you, and slightly weaker and slightly less coordinated in the presence of something that is false or something is bad for you. Okay, so take a step back. I believe that God created me to rule and reign in the world that we find ourselves in. And increasingly, science will tell you that this world we live in is one governed by quantum physics, all this crazy connection that they can prove that everything is much more connected than it's disconnected. And there's a lot to do with frequency and energy and everything, running everything. It's not some weird woo-woo spiritual thing, it's actual science, right? So if I take those two things, then it will be natural for me to believe that when God designed me to rule and reign, He designed me to rule and reign in a world that was run by and governed through quantum physics. So therefore, my physical body should be optimized to um, operate in that world, right? So muscle testing is just kind of a beautiful diagnostic tool, really a superpower to tap into information um, or about the world we live in, how I interact with it, what's optimal, and to measure things, right? So um, on the most basic level, someone might take um, a food or supplement and hold it against their body, and their body will go, I like it, I'm stronger, or ooh, this is bad, this makes me weak, right? And so you can use any muscle you want to muscle test. It just takes practice, right? Some people you may have had the experience of going to a chiropractor who muscle testing. They make you hold your arm or limb out, and they just touch different parts of your body, or they put something on you, and you know, oh, I'm weak or I'm strong. So they take that as a yes or a no, like, no, I don't like this food. Or, yes, I love this supplement. Or no, this part of my physiology is weak. Or no, I'm stronger now. Right. So you can. So that's when you're touching someone in person, right? And that's much more for of um, a response to something that is touching you. Okay. At the same time, you can get a yes or no response from true or false statements. My name is Stephen, strong. My name is Susan, weak, right? So that's a very basic thing, but you can take that and you can be much more intricate with it, okay? For example, um, I'm in alignment and agreement with receiving healing as a gift. Yes or no? Well, that's a good thing to know, right? Do you somehow feel disqualified or unworthy to have a good life, that would be good to know, because your conscious mind might say, yes, I want to be rich and skinny. And your subconscious goes, no, it's bad. Money's bad. And being fat protects me. Something like that. Does that make sense? So, um, give you a few examples of how people might muscle test, right? They might hold their arm out, stronger, weaker. In this case, it actually takes two people to muscle test. One holding their arm out, the other putting like 2 pounds of pressure for 2 seconds on the arm, testing if it's weaker or stronger. Sometimes, my son-in-law is getting good at muscle testing, and just making a statement, give me a strong yes. They'll feel restriction here. Give me a weak no, and then with the same effort, right, you'll feel weakness. Now, I was very fortunate to have my mentor turn me onto a muscle testing course, which is very specific. And what it came with a stick that had handles on both ends, and the stick would kind of slide in and out. And in the middle, it had a bungee cord, and lines on the clear plastic of the stick, so I would hold my arms out, and it would allow me to very much isolate the larger muscles on my back and learn to give this with the same effort. Again, very specifically the same effort. I would see whether I was stronger or weaker and see a yes or no on that. And that was very helpful because it taught me just starting to learn it by like holding Skittles in your mouth versus almonds or something else like that. Something's a very clear signal, like, no, I don't hate that, or I like that. And slowly getting used to what feels like a strong yes, what feels like a weak no, and then getting more subtle, right? So what happened for me is I spent a couple years using that to kind of customize nutritional protocols for people, like what supplement you want, or combined with what and how much, just by making statements like, my body likes this, yes or no. My daily optimal amount of this supplement includes 1 or more a day, yes. 2 or more a day, yes. 3 or more a day, yes. 4 or more a day, no. Okay, then I know it's 3. So you can figure out what supplements, how to combine them, different amounts, things like that, which can be very helpful because you may find, oh, I thought this supplement was going to work for me and it didn't do anything. And you're taking 3 a day when 6 a day for 2 weeks might have radically changed your life, but you didn't know it. Or my body wants this but can't absorb it. And if I combine it with this, then it works. Click. Right. So it can be super, super useful. And then what happened is my mother-in-law gave me a book called The Emotion Code. The Emotion Code. And we'll try and put some links here. The Emotion Code is a book by Dr. Brad Nelson, who's a chiropractor from Utah. And he developed a couple of things. He developed the Emotion Code and the Body Code, and I think they also have the Belief Code now. So this was to take the practice of muscle testing to and apply it on deeper, more subconscious things, like have you gone through life and kind of blown a fuse emotionally? Okay, if we can track it down, we can reset it, right? And sometimes you have to be specific about that. That's kind of the Emotion Code. The Body Code is a kind of it's an app that has many different subcategories on it. So for example, I could say, well, this certain thing is bothering me. Is the primary underlying cause of it on the left-hand side of the document on these 3 categories? No, it's on the right-hand side of the document. And so the Body Code app has innumerable amount of different categories, from weird spiritual stuff to you need more protein, whatever, right? And that's also very helpful. Okay, so when my mother-in-law gave me this book, I'm like, ooh, well, I know how to muscle test. So I could very easily apply this, right? And so there's a wide range of very simple approaches that you can use with energetic healing, with muscle testing, to quite complex. And one thing I'll encourage you is, even the most very, very simple things can be incredibly helpful and useful. So one of the things to find out is that if you develop the skill set of being accurate with muscle testing, that the type of stuff you can track down and figure out is slightly freaky. Now, here's to take a sidestep here. In this group, the Extraordinary Courage Tribe group, one thing we'll teach a lot on is the process of flow. And flow is how you tap into any extraordinary, um, ecstatic states where you're either this extraordinary soccer player or a musician, or it's actually very helpful on how to muscle test well, right? So if you study flow, the 4 steps of flow are selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and richness. And the first place people get caught up on muscle testing and not being able to do well or not be confident is they're like, I'm not sure I can trust myself. I'm not sure if I'm accurate, right? So they allow the potential of being inaccurate to put pressure on them instead of going, wrong, right, wrong, who cares? Let's have fun. See, it's very different, right? And when you can become very comfortable with doing it wrong and inaccurately, because well, it's not like I get my value from muscle testing perfectly, and you can relax, then your how accurate you are goes up quite a bit. Okay, so I want to give you kind of a few examples of what you can use muscle testing for so that it will encourage you like, ooh, I'm going to do this, right? Because it's a skill set. Here's what I find. I firmly believe anybody can do this. Um, it's interesting how few people will take the time to develop it. When I saw it, I'm like, well, everyone would want to know how to do this. No, people are not interested in developing this skill set. Okay. So, a few examples to tempt you into exploring it and figuring it out till you're good at it. Um, so, my mother-in-law gives me this book, The Emotion Code. I'm like, ooh, I could do this. And initially, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to play around with, on the children in our family, maybe on the pets, and it's just kind of fun and cool. And I like puzzles, so I was like, ooh, this is very interesting, figuring things out. And I love understanding what drives people and how to fix them, both, for their mental, emotional state and also their physical state. So one day, my wife and I are in Hawaii on vacation with some friends. And one of my friends, he was in his 60s and he was dealing with pretty bad skin cancer. And I said to him, like, hey, man, um, how about you do this emotion code thing for you? Maybe it'll be helpful for you. Because I knew already that can be some very strong underlying energetic emotional things attached to different disease states, especially with cancer. And he's like, that would be great. Cool. So muscle testing, the motion code is just a kind of a 2-column chart with 6 rows on it, right? So you go, okay, what type of thing is it? And it's just a yes or no process. Track the motion, no. It's a heart wall, yes. As in column A, yes. Column B, no. B135, B246. So I figured out it was like, no, what I'm muscle testing was like, okay, I'm getting a yes response on a heart wall of overwhelm. Okay, let's find some more information out. 20 years or younger, no. 21 or older. I figured out it was age 23. We narrowed it down to the fall. Okay. So I'm like, I don't know. That's kind of very specific, right? So I said to him, I go, hey, man, what I'm coming up with is a heart wall of overwhelm age 23 in the fall. Now that's fairly specific because each one of those has many different parameters. I go, is that accurate or am I just making something up? He goes, oh no, he goes, you're very accurate. He goes, at age 23 in the fall, I was working for the CIA and I was in Cuba and I killed someone for the first time. I'm like, for the first time, I kind of made a note to myself, don't mess with Bob. He kills people, right? Now, Bob, that was many years ago. Bob's a very nice guy, okay? And he goes, it was very overwhelming. I've only told my wife and my pastor about this. I'm like, okay. So when we reset it energetically for him, and I won't go into all the details of how to do that, but it's fairly simple. It's kind of like pressing delete button on your computer when you have the correct folder and file pulled up. And then when you hit delete, it gets rid of it. But just randomly pressing delete button doesn't do anything, okay? So when we reset that for him, it made that such a big difference for him that he and his wife started sending me referrals. And I was like, maybe I could actually do this for people. So, I remember doing it for my sister's dog. She's like adopted this golden retriever. She's like, man, this dog has all sorts of issues. Can you help? I'm like, oh, well, I'll try. I don't know. And I told her, well, like, I think your dog has a heart wall of jealousy from 2 years ago. I'm like, I don't know if that's right. Who knows? When she's like, oh, a few days later, she's like, it's doing better. I'm like, maybe random. A few days after that, she's like, I called the dog's old owners and I asked them, what's the history of my dog? And they said, well, 2 years ago, our daughter bought a little white fluffy dog and quit paying attention to your dog. I'm like, oh, jealousy. So super accurate, right? So are you always 100% accurate? No, that would be weird. Okay. But if you can develop this skill set, you can really find out a tremendous insights to shift your life and to shift other people's lives. Whether it's, I remember my cousin said to me, man, I feel sick all the time. I don't know what's going on. I'm taking all the supplements, everything. And I'm like, can you muscle test me? I'm like, okay. And with the body code, I remember it was like, oh, toxicity, environmental toxicity, oil. Okay, it was not in the house. It was outside the house, but not at work. It was car. And she's like, car. And she's like, my car's been smelling like oil lately. I'm like, well, that's it. That's what's making you sick. Go sick. Go fix it. Right. So it can help you figure out different what protocols are helpful. What of all the million different things you could do to improve your holistic health, which one is most beneficial? Which one should you invest time and energy into? It's like, here's a great example. My mom asked me to help her with her emotions regarding losing 30 pounds because she's like, I want to, but I'm just very disconnected somehow. I'm like, I would love to help you with this because I've heard about this stupid 30 pounds my whole life, right? And we thought we had solved some things, but there's here's the thing. Don't think that your conscious mind runs everything. Your subconscious fundamentally runs your life. And sometimes your subconscious makes decisions about what is safe, not safe, what's good or bad, that isn't exactly logical, but sorry, it's running everything. Okay. So I thought we had solved it, but I'm like, sometimes your subconscious will lie to you. So there's these series of testing questions. And it goes like this. I'm ready, willing, able. It's good for me. It's safe for me. I believe I can honor it. I can be supported by others. I choose to. Now, for her, the good and safe was an absolute no regarding losing 30 pounds. I'm like, well, that's kind of weird, right? And so doing a little digging using muscle testing, we figured out all of this was coming from age 21. And age 21, her mother and sister were killed by a drunk driver. Her brother was driving the car. He was very seriously injured. She had to leave college, come home, attend a local community college, go to school full-time, work full-time, take care of her father and brother. And by the way, no one, not once, ever talked about it. But guess what else happened that year? Regarding her weight, she lost 30 pounds. Why? Because of the stress. So you fast forward 60 years, right? And you go, I want to lose 30 pounds, right? What does your subconscious say? No, people you care about have to die to produce the stress, to produce the weight loss. Not going to happen, right? So sometimes there can be very important things in your life that you're like stuck on. You're like, I don't know what my deal is. I just can't take action, whatever. And this is a type of tool that will help you dive down into the real core underlying issues that are hidden. Okay, and that can be very, very, very helpful. So the other thing to understand is like, when I first started doing muscle testing, I'm like, okay, you touch somebody and then you muscle test them. I'm like, okay, this makes sense. And Dr. Nelson talked about, you can do proxy muscle testing. In other words, you don't even have to be near them. You could say something like, I'm testing by his permission, I'm testing for Bob, and these are his results. And you go, my name is Bob, and you get a strong results. And then you can muscle test for someone who's in Japan. I'm like, okay, that sounds interesting, but that's a little weird. Like it was just slightly outside my comfort zone, right? And the first thing, the first remote muscle testing I did was for my sister's dog. I'm like, oh, that sounds safe. I'll try that. And I'm like, oh my God, that worked. And then my sister in Hawaii asked me to do some work for her remotely. And I'm like, okay, I think I feel safe doing that. And I'm like, oh, then I realized now I do all of it over Zoom. Why? Because we live in a quantum physics world. And without going a huge masterclass on this, Albert Einstein called this a spooky action at a distance. And it is the understanding that things can be quantum entangled. And spooky action at a distance mean they take, I think it's a proton or electron or something. Anyways, they quantum entangle two electrons. They take one of them, the Chinese put one of them on a space station and one of them in the lab, but they're still connected. So what you do to one instantly happens to the other. Instantly, not something traveling between here to there. It's like instant. that make sense? And so the Chinese actually have the spooky action at a distance record at the moment for doing that. But one thing they're exploring doing is using this type of quantum entanglement to create a encrypted, unhackable communication system. Anyways, but the point is that everyone is much more connected than we're not, and it's not some weird spiritual thing. But when you have confidence and you're willing to play around with it, you can actually start doing stuff like this over distance very accurately. And anyways, so I hope that helps explain a little bit of it. Um, start playing around with different things. I think what I'm going to do in the Extraordinary Courage Tribe, I had a very extensive course on muscle testing, starting from the very super, super simple stuff to very subtle, nuanced things if you're already a practitioner on how to become better at it. For example, I have tons of different examples and do sessions with people and show you exactly how we work through some things and shift them things, and whether it's for finances or weight loss or how to help people with autoimmune disorders or how to start muscle testing in general, how to deal with your ego, all that. And I think what I'll do is I will make that longer course available for a fee. But you don't really need that course initially if you're willing to play around with it. I used to do this muscle testing thing like that, and then I realized that I could actually muscle test just using the muscles governing my swallowing and breathing. So we'll end with this. Two simple things. Now, again, realize that you'll probably, what I find is people find their own favorite technique. They'll be like, oh, those things I can't really get it to work, but oh, this one, I can, yeah, this one works for me. I can get a clear signal on that, right? So three simple ones. One, the most basic muscle test is called a sway test. And that's where you take something and you stand and you close your eyes. And if I made a statement, my name is Stephen, and I just I would feel like I'm slowly wanting to start tipping forward, right? If I say something is false, I want to move away from it. And I like, my name is Susan. I'm like, okay, I kind of feel myself going away. So then you would take different things that you know are good for you and bad for you, and you might hold them against your chest and go, my body can digest and absorb this, or this is good for me. A little bit forward, a little bit back, right? So that's one technique. Sometimes people use their tongue. Like if you wiggle your tongue inside, nice and smooth, easy. Then I make a statement I know is true. My name is Stephen, and I wiggle my tongue. That feels good. Then I make a statement I know to be false. My name is Enrique. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I feel like I've all of a sudden uncoordinated, like I've had too many cocktails or too much tequila, right? So that's one technique you can use. The other one, my favorite one, is I take I go to take a breath and I feel if there's restriction or it's open. So I say, my name is Stephen. My name is Rick. And it feels off. And that slight off feeling is a no. Right. So I take that and I learn to play around with that over and over and over. Like, yes, no, until I get very, very used to kind of uh, hearing or feeling that signal until I can feel and or hear that signal, even if it's very subtle. Okay, so for example, if I was in a room full of a bunch of people and someone said my name, a bunch of people could be talking, and Stephen, I'm like, what? Ching, I heard that, right? Because I'm tuned into that voice, that word, that phrase, that sound, right? And so getting better at muscle testing is just picking a sound, voice, signal that you like in some technique and then drilling down in it so you're better and better and better and better and better at hearing it. And then remembering the 4 steps to flow, which is selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and richness. So disconnect your ego. Don't be under pressure. Oh, I have to, I must, should. And if it's hard, you're doing it wrong. Let it be easy. And once easy, then you'll be accurate. Anyways, hope this is helpful. Hope you have a wonderful day. And let me know if you have any questions. If you're in the school group, post the questions below. We'll interact with you. We'll answer things, help you out, all that. Looking forward to seeing some people try this new superpower and discover how really extraordinary your body is.